It's another Mental Wellness Monday right here at the Disabilities Network of Wayne County. I am your facilitator, your host, whatever you want to call me, Dr. Sabrina Jackson. And we're here every Monday for 5 weeks, and then we're going to take a break. And then we're going to come back for another 5 weeks. And so we want you to engage with us. We want you to post any questions that you may have. Today, we're going to be focusing on depression. Let me tell you why I wanted to do depression. Because out of all of the topics that I get, most people want to ask something about depression. And so today we're going to dive in, and I do have a studio audience, and so they're going to engage with me. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to start with what are some myths that we hear or that we think about depression? I have some. I have a list. And I'm going to go to my list. But I'm going to ask the audience, when you think about depression, what do you think of? Get your mics. Get your mic.
Time people
We hear you.
people think that it runs in the family
Ooh.
and they knew about it and nobody did nothing about it. We just kept it a secret and no, actually, like, we knew about it. Like, I come from a big family. My grandmother had 12 kids
Mm.
and my mom had 6,
Mm.
but
How many
I
you got?
3.
It's like they 12, half, 6, then half. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Ain't nobody having big families like that no
They
more.
are. They are. They are. They're people.
They are.
Y'all ever heard of Kiki Wyatt?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And she on number 11?
Is it 11?
It's 11.
So
I think she's pregnant right now.
I noticed in my uncles, I had 7 uncles
Okay.
that I always looked up to.
Okay.
My uncles, I think that if they knew then that going to talk to somebody was okay, but back in their day, they just mimicked what they saw. Their father was a provider. He went to work, took care, my grandma bought her everything she want, and they felt like that was enough. But the depression was there. And now I see it like in my brother, I see it in my nephew that is there, but they still don't want to do nothing about it.
It's interesting as you talk about the fact that in your family, you've seen depression, but you've seen it, it looks like or sounds like, in men. Because you talked about your uncles, you had
Yes.
7 of them, and then you saw depression in them, but they didn't think it was okay to go and do nothing about it.
Right.
And then your brothers saw the same thing, and then they emulated the same thing.
Yes.
So depression is not just a gender thing. So
No.
did you see depression in any of the women in your family?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a sister
Okay.
who has MS,
Okay.
and she has depression really bad. And then before my mom passed, I could see that she had depression too, but she never wanted to do anything about it. Just like for me, I didn't get depressed or have anxiety until the pandemic. So to me, it's okay to talk to somebody or, to go see the psychiatrist, whatever, that can help you feel better. But I don't see that in my family. My baby sister, the one who has MS, she does speak to, she does have a psychiatrist
Okay.
and a
Okay.
therapist. Yeah.
Okay. Psychiatrist and a therapist. Y'all do know that those are two different things. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor.
Right.
A medical doctor who has a specialty with the mind and the brain.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they can prescribe medicines. So when a person has a chemical imbalance, because really that's a lot of what it is, that there's an imbalance in the chemicals in your brain and that require some balancing, and medications help with the balancing. And so when people get offended when someone offers them medication, well, if you are complaining of certain symptoms, then the doctor, who is an MD, is going to say, let me give you this to help you with the symptoms. That's the whole reason behind it. And so medication is what generally psychiatrists do. But then when you have a therapist, a psychologist, or a clinical therapist, or a clinical social worker, because there are social workers who are trained clinically. They're not just trained to go and work in child welfare. There's a lot of different areas that those particular professionals can cover.
Yeah.
So it's just important to know what are the different avenues to get help if you need help.
Yes.
Because it's okay
Yes, it is okay.
to get some help. Please get some help. So what else do you think about when you think about the word depression? Got to get the mic. Got to get the mic.
People being down and out. They don't want any contact with the family or their crew. Some people get so paranoid. I'm gonna say this real quick. I used to be a school bus driver for the truck public school.
Okay.
And it was a driver that, she was so paranoid that when Friday 13th comes, she didn't come to work.
Wow.
She didn't answer the phone. She had no interaction outside. She stayed home. Now, the next day was the 14th, a working day, then she came to work. But she was just that paranoid. She didn't, no answering the phone, not coming outside, no work, anything. I said, oh my God. And I said, this girl cannot be that bad, but sure enough, when Friday 13th came on a weekday, she was not to be found.
She's not coming. Yep, she's not coming. She's not coming.
That paranoid. I don't know what it was, and she never discussed with me because we weren't that close.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on with her or what happened to her for her to feel like that. But
That is such a great distinction that you say that, because sometimes we get stuck in what's going on with a person instead of what has happened to a person.
Right.
What has happened to a person will impact how the person is behaving.
Right, exactly.
What's going on with them. And so, yes, something may be going on with you today, but it came from somewhere.
There you go. There you go. Exactly.
And so sometimes we don't take the time, even for ourselves, to tap into what has happened to us.
Thank you. Thank you.
What has happened to us, and how have we dealt with it? Have we healed from it? And sometimes we don't heal because we never heal from it because we never really address it. We never look at it, dissect it, because it's so painful, we don't want to. But I say
Right.
this, you can never heal from a thing until you're real about a thing. And in order
right.
to be real about a thing, you have to confront it. You have to look at it. You have to own it. You got to say, yes, this happened to me.
Yep, exactly. You got to
Yes,
admit you
it's
have a problem.
impacted me this way. I remember I had losses back to back in my life. I had an assistant who was 31 and passed from breast cancer. Devastated me. 2007. At that time, when she passed, we found out that my dad had colon cancer. Then in 2009, he passed. And then 29 days after that, my brother, who was home for the funeral, went upstairs to take a shower, had a seizure, stopped breathing, and they couldn't revive him.
Oh,
So
God,
he died
no.
29 days later. And then my mother was just never the same after she lost her husband of 45 years and her son. And they both had the same name. And so then I found her deceased in 2013. That's a lot.
Yes, it is. Oh, my God. That's devastating.
That's a lot. That's really a lot. And so I was grieving, and even though I was grieving, I was still working. I was still moving. I was still doing what I do. And one of the things after going to a grief group, and let me say this, if you're the helper, yeah, you need help too. The helper needs help. Okay, I'm
Yes.
just saying. I'm a great helper, but I ain't as great when I need help myself. So
I hear you.
I went to this grief group, and it's called Good Grief. It's where Black women go to grieve, because the woman who started it lost her significant other, and she started looking for places to go for group counseling, and every place that she went was all Caucasian people. And okay, wonderful people, it's great to have your places, but sometimes you want to sit in a place where you feel like the connections understand the
Thank you.
nuances of what it means to come up in your community. I'm just saying, you know.
Yes.
Somebody that could come in the door saying, "What up, though?"
There
Okay.
you go.
So,
There you go.
so all of that. And so when I went to the group, I went to the group to help facilitate, because she herself wasn't a therapist or anything. She just started the group. And she would always have a therapist with her. And so whenever the therapist wasn't available who started it with her, she would call me so I could be the therapist. And this particular time, she was talking about how, as a part of her grief, on one side of her bed was all kind of stuff, books and her computers and food and just everything on that side of the bed. And then whenever she cleaned the bed off, she would become very, very depressed. She would cry
Wow.
because the things on the side of her bed became almost like a comfort that she wasn't alone. So now,
Shut the noise.
I listened to all of that, and I went home, and everything was on that side of the bed. I had all kind of stuff in my bed. It's just computers and just all kind of stuff in my bed. And I never thought that that could be a symptom of the grief.
Wow.
So I cleaned off the bed completely, changed the sheets, did all that, got in the bed, and cried like a baby.
Oh no. No.
So then it let me know, okay, you're not done with this. You haven't, you know. And sometimes the thing that has us sad or depressed or down, it takes time.
Yep.
It's not just gonna happen at one visit. The people come and see you for therapy, and they say, "Well, it ain't working." But you only came twice. So let me tell you some other myths. The first one is depression is just feeling sad. That's a myth.
Yeah.
Because depression is more than that. Depression is much more than just feeling sad.
Yeah.
It is a serious medical condition that involves a persistent condition of feelings of sadness and a loss of interest in things. So it's one thing to be a little down. It's a whole nother thing to lose interest in things. So I used to love going to the movies. I don't go to the movies no more. I used to love watching TV. I don't watch TV no more. I don't know the last time I turned on my TV. You just lose interest in the things that you normally would be interested in or that you once enjoyed. So when you're doing a self-analysis, you have to say to yourself, are there things that I used to really love and that I just don't do no more? And why? Why have I stopped doing it? Now, some things you stop doing it because who you were doing it with. Did I say? I didn't say nothing. I didn't say nothing.
There you go.
It can also include physical symptoms such as changes in your appetite, your sleep disturbances, and feeling tired all the time. So being sad is much broader when it comes to depression because it can affect how you sleep. It can affect where you go and what you do. It can affect if you're tired all the time, you just can't get, you done slept for 14 hours and you wake up exhausted.
Yes. Ooh, good Lord.
You wake up exhausted because it doesn't have anything to do with the rest and the sleep, but everything to do with the fact that you are kicked into this symptom of depression. Then the other myth, people with depression can just snap out of it if they try hard enough. People think that, if you're depressed, if you're sad, just get glad. I remember parents saying that to kids. Like a kid, if a kid came home and said, "I'm just feeling really sad," and the parent would go, "You ain't been around long enough to be sad.
Yep, I used to hear.
You
folks
ain't
say
had
that.
enough go on in your life to be sad." But how many people know that now, when they look back to their childhood, those were the initial things that got you to where you were sad? Things people said to you, things people did to you, things that you were expecting that you never got, could kick you into feeling less than, which is a part of depression as well. So, the next myth, depression is not a real illness.
Oh shoot, that's not true.
Well, let me say this why this was so good, because when we think about mental challenges anyway, we give more power to a diagnosis of cancer because it's a physical diagnosis than a diagnosis of a mental challenge.
Okay.
Because we almost feel like, and a lot of people feel this way, that I can control what I think and what I feel much more than I control the physical disorder. So, like,
Okay.
if someone has MS, I can control that. That's what the doctor has diagnosed me with MS. But even if the doctor diagnosed you with depression or anxiety or bipolar or schizophrenia or any of the diagnostic things in the code, do you think you really have a whole lot of control over that too? So just as cancer requires some treatment, mental challenges can require some treatment. Another myth is that only traumatic events can cause depression.
No, I think it's more.
Oh yeah, it's definitely more.
it's
While
more than that.
traumatic events can certainly
So
trigger
can trigger,
depression
yeah.
in some people, there are many factors that can contribute to the development of depression. Let me tell you some of the factors. Genetics.
Okay.
So you were talking about in your family, how it was present in your family, and then sometimes we don't own that that's an issue in our family. Because we don't think it's, child, they just need a whooping.
Yeah.
If I just whoop their tail, they won't be depressed. You won't be sad no more. Oh my God. I remember somebody saying, I won't say who, you crying? Oh, let me give you something to cry about.
Oh, how many times I've heard that as a kid.
I'm going to give you something to cry. You want to cry? I'm going to give you something to cry about.
Yep.
And so what's sad is that when I think about my own childhood, there were things that had occurred in my life at that time as a child that I never felt comfortable sharing because I felt like I would get that response. So we need to make sure that we're creating safe spaces for the people in our life to talk about what's happening to them, especially our children and our elderly, because those are the most vulnerable. So you would think that when a kid comes into the world and then you have someone touch them inappropriately or hit them and then they can't tell because the person who's initiating does things that's threatening, will say, well, if you say something, I'm going to kill your mama. Well, I love my mama. If you threaten to kill my mama and I'm a little kid, I can't, I don't want my, you can't hurt my mama.
No, that's right.
And it causes them to shut down. And then with the elderly, some of them have developed Alzheimer's or dementia, and they can't tell you because in that moment they may not be lucid. And then the challenge becomes maybe they are lucid, but you don't believe they lucid because in other situations they weren't lucid. Lots of information. And then number 5 myth, we only have 7. We have 7 myths. Number 5, people with depression are just seeking attention.
I don't know, that could be possible. Because some people just want attention.
Well, what this says, depression is a serious condition that can have a profound impact on a person's life. Those suffering from depression are not seeking attention, but rather are in need of support and understanding. And so I know one of the things that we may say in our communities, ooh, they just, oh, all that drama.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's the drama that is raising the flag that something's wrong. I'm waving the flag by saying, oh, I'm gonna kick somebody's tail today. Yeah, because there's three reasons, really four, but three reasons why people can get hospitalized for a 72-hour hold that they're gonna assess their mental capacity. Three reasons. The first reason is that they're a danger to themselves. That means they're suicidal. So that means that they are at the point that if they've got a plan on how they're going to hurt themselves or how they're going to take themselves out. That's the first reason. The second reason is they're a danger to others.
Oh, that's what I'm getting ready to say.
So now they're homicidal. I'm loading my gun.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Then the third reason is that they're a danger to property. So you remember the song, I know y'all might not like this song, but there's a lot of women that like this song. I bust the windows out your car.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember that, yeah. I kind of liked it.
So do you know that when you damage someone's property, that is a reason to be hospitalized?
That's- yeah, yeah, yeah.
So think about it. Have you ever seen like on TV or on social media where you see a kid done went crazy and done broke everything in the house? Yeah,
yes,
you need some assessment now. If you're tearing up everything.
Yes, thank you.
So a danger to property, danger to others, and a danger to self. But the fourth reason is that you're not oriented to reality. So you're not oriented to what time it is, who you are as a person or the people around you, the date. You know, you might ask a person, well, who's the president? And they'll go, Lincoln. Who? Abraham Lincoln. And they serious.
Yeah, they not just playing. Yeah,
They not just
serious.
playing. They serious. Those are some reasons why you would want to get a person assessed for their mental health. So y'all gotta watch trying to tear up people's stuff. The next myth is that, oh, this is good. Depression is a normal part of aging.
What, because of loneliness? Some people get lonely.
That possibly could be it. Or think about it, when you get older, the older you get, the more people you lose.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you think about
Your mortality. However, that's a myth. Depression is not a normal part of aging. While older adults may be at higher risk for depression due to the factors such as maybe a chronic illness, social isolation, it is not an inevitable part of getting older. Let me give you an example. I had the fortunate opportunity to go see Patti LaBelle last night.
Oh, yeah.
Patti LaBelle turns 80 years old on May the 24th.
wow.
Let me tell you, she came out in 5-inch heels.
Yep.
And she didn't come out just, she was, I'm the right kind of lover.
Oh, yeah.
Then she was crip walking.
Oh, no.
She was crip. She'll be 80 on May 24th. So there is a campaign that's done by the AARP entitled Disrupt Aging. because the way we need to think about aging is not the old way of thinking. You know, that you old, now you just go home and sit down.
Right.
I know that's right.
Ain't nobody doing that.
Uh-uh.
I came in today, the ladies was in the chair, they was working out. They got me to moving my legs. I said, oh, y'all didn't know I could lift them so high. What? But we
you
have
go.
to start thinking about aging differently. And you still have an opportunity to make dreams come true for you.
Yes.
So just like you had dreams in your 20s, you can have dreams in your 60s. You can have dreams in your 70s, and you can make them happen.
Yep.
You got to set a
Got that
goal
right.
and then work towards the goal. Don't just sit and go, oh, well, you know, ain't nobody. I hear people say this all the time. Ain't nobody checking for nobody that's old as me.
Oh, that's not true though.
I know it's not. Because when I tell you it was a guy, because, you know, in a part of her show, she'll have people from the audience come up and sing. She'll say, I need about 4 or 5 people that can sing and dance. And the one guy came up there, when I tell you, he was so good. Oh my goodness, he was so good. But he kept calling her his poo-poo. He said, hey, poo-poo. I said, uh-oh. And he was obviously younger than her, but trust and believe, he was checking for her, okay?
I hear you. I hear you.
And so I don't care how old we are, you can still be checked on or do some checking. I have a lady in my church, she's in her 90s now, but she got married in her 80s.
Wow.
And had when I tell you her wedding dress was absolutely stunning.
Shut the noise.
And so this is the thing, let me say this, people, let me say this. Oftentimes, we'll have in our mind things that we think is over for us because society says it's over for us. People say it's over for us. But is
Yeah.
that what God is saying to you?
No, that's true.
If you still like people,
I know that's right.
I remember my grandmother, God rest her soul. After my grandfather passed, she started dating this guy. And we loved him. But when he first started trying to take her out, she was not feeling him. And he was sending her flowers. He was writing her poetry. And I was like, well, I need somebody writing me some poetry. What? I like a little poetry. I'm just saying, somebody writing about me. And so finally, because my grandmother loved the Tigers. So one day he asked her, could he take her to a Tigers game? And she was like, I don't know if I want to go. And then she went. And they hung, oh my God, I remember when I got married, the first time. I've got 2 husbands, but that's a whole nother talk show. But my first marriage, he was there, and he was so kind to all of us. He was just such a nice man. And so I was so happy to see her in her golden years, still having companionship
Yeah, that's a blessing.
with somebody who she liked. And not only did she like, but liked her and did romantic things for her. So he brought her flowers and, like I say, wrote her poetry. I'm like, what? So don't think it's over. It ain't over till you gone.
That's true. Yeah.
And so a lot of times we get so stuck in the routine of life that we stop looking at the possibilities of having other areas of your life awakened back up. And then another depression myth is that you can't do anything to help someone with depression. If they depressed, leave them over there, child. I ain't got time.
Oh.
You know,
Yeah, no.
they are Debbie Downer. I can't be around them because I'm upbeat. Well, no, that's a myth. While you can't fix someone's depression, you can provide support, encourage them to seek help, and offer a listening ear. Your understanding and empathy can make a significant difference in their recovery. So sometimes just your presence, just your smile, just your hug is something that can make a person feel better. And it's a very I think that it's our responsibility as the rent we pay to live on the planet to just be light and love when we can, because there's some times and spaces that we need the light and love. But when you're in a good space and you're doing good, be that for someone else. I always say I do random acts of kindness. And a random act of kindness, I'm not doing it for anything but to be kind. So one of the things that's my favorite things to do is that when I'm in a drive-through, and I'm in a drive-through a lot, Lord, I love a meal, oh my goodness. But I'll be in a drive-through and I'll look in my rearview mirror and I might see a mother with 3 or 4 children in the car. And then I'll tell the person, I says, what's their bill? I say, put their bill on my bill.
Oh,
And then
so
I get my stuff and I leave. I don't stay going, yes, I paid for your food today. Say thank you to me. No. I want that person to get up to the window and they say, oh, the person that left, she paid your bill already. And I want them to feel a moment of joy, a moment of goodness, a moment that there's still good people left in the world.
Yes, yes.
Because there are good people left in the world. And you know that there are if you won. So that's why I can say that I know there's good people left in the world because I'm one.
Hello.
Doing certain things like, have you ever like walked down the street and saw somebody's parking meter blinking because it done expired and you got change, so why not throw some change in there? You don't know them, you don't know how they look, but if they come out, because have you ever been someplace and your meter, you know your meter out, oh Lord, let me go down here and see, do I have a ticket? And you get down there and you got a whole nother hour.
Yeah.
That's a joy. That's a joy
You
moment.
got that right.
So it's little things that we can do to give joy to other people. And sometimes that one little thing could be the thing that takes somebody from feeling like today my last day.
Yeah.
Because when people are really, really depressed and really sad, it can lead to feeling suicidal. I was talking about Patti LaBelle and how good she looks at 80. She'll be 80 on May 24th.
Wow.
But at the concert, I was talking to someone, and they shared with me that day they were thinking about committing suicide.
Oh, wow.
And that their I think it was their goddaughter says, no, I'm coming to get you, took her out to eat, got her flowers, and said, well, you want to go see Patti LaBelle? And she said, well, sure. And she said because she was sitting in front of me, she said when she turned around and saw me, it just made her happy.
Oh.
That is that's such a feeling of joy to know that when somebody sees you, it makes things better for them. Not even saying, they're not even talking to you, just, oh my God. I know it's people that do that for me, that when I see them, I just go,
Yep.
just feel better.
Yep.
Because I like you. I like what you do. I like your smile. I like hearing your voice. I like, instead of those people when you see their name on your caller ID, you go, I don't feel like that today.
No, that's right.
I just don't
I
feel
know
like that
that's
today.
right.
I just don't, because I know they're going to talk forever. Because sometimes, have you ever answered the phone and you can't even say hello? Because they gone in.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad you asked. Let me teach you. And then they gone. And you go, well, hello to you too.
I know that's right.
And so this is another thing that I've noticed. A lot of people that are around me, that I spend time with, I know their stuff. I know the things they like, because I pay attention to people. But then I was teaching a class, I was in church and I was teaching a Bible study. And as I was teaching a Bible study, it was about servant leadership. And so everybody that was in my class, I could tell them who their person was.
Okay.
So I knew that one person really, really liked John Maxwell. Somebody else really, really liked Joyce Myers. Somebody else, their person was Jamal Brown. I knew everybody's person. And then I said, well, who's my person? Nobody knew my person. And then I thought to myself, the reason that nobody knew my person was two things. One, most people, when they call me to get something from me, to be able to tell me their issues, to find out how I can help them with their stuff. Or by the time it's time to talk, for me to talk, we all talked out. It's time to go. So I have to do better at stopping and sharing my stuff. Because that's my responsibility. Ain't nobody else's responsibility. If I want you to know something about me, I have to be intentional about telling you. And so because I saw that in me, now I am not always just listening to people talk about their stuff, because I got stuff too. I need to be able to unload and unleash and talk about what's going on with me. And so I am much more intentional about that with my crew, with my people, with the people I'm around, because that's such a major thing, is being able to have healthy relationships go both ways. They don't just go one way. You can't always be the giver, and you should not always be the taker. There's times when you're giving, and there should be times when you're receiving. And you have both of those. So I gave y'all a test today. I want to know how y'all doing. I want to know how y'all doing on this test. This is good. And so it's just a simple self-assessment. And it's 20 questions. And it's just 20 things. And these, I'm not going to read all 20, but they're just asking, do I feel downhearted and blue? And it says, and it has different columns. A little of the time, some of the time, a good part of the time, or most of the time. So, and the way that you rate this is on the scale. If it's a little of the time, you give that space a 1. Some of the time, you give that a 2. Good part of the time, you give that a 3. And most of the time, you give that a 4. So you answer them, whichever box. In the first column are 1s, second columns are 2s, third columns are 3s, and the last column are 4s. So whatever your score is, you add it all up, and when you get your total, it means something. Who need a pen? You got a pen? I'm sure. Oh. And I like assessments and tests for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons that I like it is that it causes you to start to stop thinking about other folk and really laser in on you. How am I feeling? What am I thinking? What am I doing? So, and like in this moment, do I feel downhearted and blue? I don't feel that way a lot of times. So that would be the first box for me. I don't feel that way a lot. Morning is when I feel the best. No, no, no. When I tell you the morning time, I want to go right back to bed. I am nocturnal. I am up in the middle of the night. I have crying spells, or I feel like having crying spells.
So was that when you picked, you put a check mark?
Yep, just put a check mark in your column. And then when it's time to add them up, the first column are ones, the second columns would be twos, third columns would be threes, and the last column would be fours. Ooh, look at number 8. I have trouble with constipation. Ooh, I get tired for no reason. I get tired for a reason. My mind is as clear as it used to be. I think it is. I'm doing pretty good on the mind being clear. So if you're at home and you're watching this, you can go to, I'm going to put, what I want you to do is that you could email me. You could email me at info@sabrinajackson.com. Again, that's info@sabrinajackson.com. If you email me, I'll send you this same test. So if you're watching virtually or you're watching it later, if you email me and just put in your subject, depression assessment, I'll send you that with the rating scale so that you'll know where you lie when it comes to depression. Because they're busy. You should see them writing. I love it. I feel like I'm a school teacher right now because they're busy writing. But it's good for us to assess where we're at in all different areas. Last week we talked about forgiveness. Are there places and spaces where you need to forgive others? Because forgiveness is never for the other person. It is for you. So that you're not stuck in an area of unforgiveness. It's not good. So while they're finishing their test, just to understand what depression is, again, depression is more than just feeling sad and going through a rough patch. It is a serious mental health condition that requires understanding as well as medical care. Left untreated, depression can be devastating to the people who have it and their families. Fortunately, with early detection, diagnosis, and a treatment plan consisting of maybe medication, psychotherapy, or lifestyle changes. That's the key. Sometimes we need to change some things we're doing in our life. You're doing things that are detrimental to your care. I think next week we're going to talk about moving from self-defeating attitudes and behaviors to self-supporting attitudes and behaviors. So it is estimated that 16 million adults, almost 7% of the population, had at least one major depressive episode in the past year. And I'm going to say this number is probably a little low because since the pandemic, we've had a tsunami of new diagnoses of depression and anxiety. So it is important to know that women are 70 times more likely than men to experience depression. And that may be because men tend to, when they angry or when they hurt, they're going to do something. They may become aggressive, but they're going to get it out. Whereas women sometimes hold it. You don't want to come across as being difficult and things of that nature. Young adults aged 18 to 25 are 60 times more likely to have depression than people age 50 or over. And that's probably because they just haven't learned to navigate the challenges in life. By the time you get 50, you done had some, and you've learned how to navigate them more appropriately. Do you have your total?
I don't know how to tell them.
Okay, so I want you to look at where my test goes.
I'll just tell how many I got on one page.
Nope. In this, anything that you checked in this first column, give it a 1 score. Yep. So just if you say you got 4 things in this column, that's 4.
Oh, got it.
And then in the next column, anything you check gets 2. Yep, you get 2. And then the third column, you get 3 per. And the last one, you get 4 per. And this one is 2.
So the second column is 2.
Uh-huh. Any checks that you got in the second column, each one of those checks equal 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, the second column.
Okay, now the second column, the third column is what?
3. So if you got, say you got 4 things there, that's 3, 6, 9, 12, yeah. And then the last column is 4. So if you got anything in the last column, those are 4s. And then once you finish each column, you total how many you have on the sheet.
You total all of them.
Mm-hmm. This is good, this is good, this is good. Some of the symptoms of people that have depression: changes in your sleep, we talked about that, changes in your appetite, a lack of concentration, you just can't concentrate on one thing, loss of energy, so you're lethargic or fatigued.
Okay, I got mine.
What's your total?
39.
I'm going to tell you. Ooh. 39 says that you're in a normal range. 39 says you are in a normal range. You do not have depression. You say, huh? You surprised? Look. No, you went, really?
So you have to check off each one though.
Something for each of the 20 things.
My total 38.
38, normal range.
So we ain't crazy.
You're not depressed.
We're not
You don't have depression. It's normal. The way you deal with things being sad, you're in a normal range because you're not doing the things that would take you to a higher number. She's still adding. She's still taking her test. Because she says, do I need to answer each one? Like, yes, you must, you must, you must, you must. So we talked about a loss of energy, low self-esteem. When you don't feel good about yourself, that's a sign of depression. Feeling hopeless, like nothing is ever going to be better. That's a sign of depression. Changes in movement. And movement could be like you used to walk 3 times a week and now you don't walk no more. You just, I don't want to move. Physical aches and pains. Let me say this. When you are in pain, it can absolutely make you sad. I just remember because I've had my one knee replaced and they're saying that I need to have the other one replaced, but I'm taking a different treatment, so far so good. But when I was in pain, when both of them was really, really hurting, I just remember one day thinking it would be so nice to not be in pain. Because the pain was crippling. Or I would be walking, like speaking someplace, and I remember walking past a guy and my knees were creaking and making so much noise that the guy stopped and says, was that your knee? That's how loud it was. Pain. So pain and aches can absolutely cause you to 41, guess what? Normal range. Normal range. I love all the normal girls in the building today. Let me tell you the number that you need to be mildly depressed. 50 to 59 would be mildly depressed. If you're 60 to 69, you're moderately depressed. And anything over 70, you're severely depressed. So y'all doing okay. I'm loving it. So remember we talked about some of the causes for depression. One of them is trauma, things that's traumatically happened to us. Number two is genetics. There are genetics involved with some depression. If your mother was depressed, your grandmother was depressed, it could definitely come down and it'll be something that can hit you. But if you have early detection, you can begin to do something so that you're not stuck there. You may require to go see somebody once a week to get yourself together. You may require medical, you may require some medicines to get your chemicals together because that is genetic. But then,
My mother was depressed, and I did everything to not be.
because you saw it.
As a kid, I would be like, I'm not gonna ever do like that. I'm not gonna never say I'm sick. I'm not gonna never say what I can't do. I just did the opposite of her. I just did the opposite of her, and and so that's how I survived that, by not wanting to be her.
But it's interesting. So you had an example of what you didn't want to be. Did you have examples of people in your life of what you wanted to be?
Yes,
And so who were those people?
the people that were the go-getters.
The go-getters.
I mean, I had, like I would have, like my stepmother, she was a go-getter. She, liked it the best of everything. She wanted to be a part of the best of everything. So she would be my example. And my aunt, I had an aunt that, it's like, it's nothing that you can't do.
Right.
So they had that attitude, opposed to my mother having that attitude. Oh, we can't eat today because I ain't get my check. Then I'll go over here, and this lady would be frying chicken to take to the after-hour joint. So I learned that from her, that
It's always a way to hustle.
It's always a way to hustle, she get low in income. I'm a family of rumor. So I always was taught that if I get to a point, I got this room I can rent out. I got, so it was just, I just learned to do the opposite of her.
It's so funny that you say that. And I asked you that question for a reason. Because sometimes we'll look at things we don't want to be, but we never look at the things we want to be. And saying that, and not saying that you want to be just like that person,
Right.
but they're examples of things to think differently than what you don't want. Because if you focus on what you don't want, to be real honest, you'll get more of what you don't want. Because what you focus on is what you gravitate to. That's what you'll create in your life.
So you can't afford to focus on.
You can't afford to focus
on
the
what you
negative.
don't want, because that's what, like you said, that's what you'll be. Is I'm not gonna have nothing because I keep speaking it. I ain't gonna have nothing.
I ain't gonna never have no money.
My mama say we ain't got no money. We ain't gonna. I say, well, dog, yeah. I remember and then one time I wanted to. All my friends lived in the projects. And I thought that they were the greatest thing because everybody knew each other's first and last name. And I'm like, they having fun because they all close. And so then one day I asked my mother, I said, why we don't move to the projects? And she had the nerve to say, cause my income ain't that low. I said, well, hell, how poor is they? 'Cause I thought we was poor. They poor than us. So then I said, no, I want to move to the project.
I don't want to go to the projects now. Yeah, they can know everybody's name, but I don't want to be
I know them over here, because if they poor, because of that, oh, God, I say, they
Don't want to
income.
do it. That is hilarious. And then another thing that can cause us depression, and this is huge, life circumstances. Because I say all the time, life is going to throw you stuff that can knock you off your square.
And not you
Marital
understand.
status, sometimes when you was all booed up and lovey-dovey, and then the bottom falls out. Your financial standing can cause you depression. Where Miss Patty just talked about it, where a person lives can have an effect. Because I know sometimes we'll ride through certain neighborhoods and you go, just riding in this neighborhood makes me depressed.
Right.
Yeah.
Really, because it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
houses are all burnt out, and you
Two
feel
houses
like,
left on the
and it's
block.
2 blocks, 2 houses, and then one of those houses
Is-
looks immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and my ex-husband, JJ, we used to ride past these houses and go, we just want to get out and give those people a hug. Because it's got to be horrible looking out your window and
At
seeing
that,
this.
right.
Yes. It's not good for your mental health. Your brain structure can be a reason why you have depression. Imaging studies have shown that the frontal lobe of the brain becomes less active when a person is depressed. Depression is also associated with changes in how the pituitary gland and hypothalamus respond to hormone stimulation. So sometimes it's just what's going on in your body again that can cause you and kick you into depression. Other medical conditions. People who have a history of sleep disturbances, what else? Sleep disturbances, medical illness, chronic pain, there go that pain thing again, anxiety, attention deficit, hyperactivity disorder are more likely to develop depression. I definitely could see that chronic pain causing some depression. Because if you're in pain constantly and you can't get any relief, how you happy?
Right.
Pain causes you to want to check out. I tap out. I don't even want to be bothered right now. No, what you say? Oh yeah, get the mic.
I had a flight attendant friend, very young girl, who had a incident on an aircraft when the severe turbulence, and she hit her head and flipped over and all this stuff. The cart that we pushed down the galley kind of messed her up, and I mean, being a flight attendant, I know that feeling. But when she said she was in pain, she wanted to commit suicide. I was like, from that, like that, but that's her trauma now,
Yes.
her issue. And
Yes.
so the other day she called me and I was talking to her and I was clicking a button to take a test. I didn't know the test was going to start as soon as I clicked the button. And so I'm listening to her and trying to take the test. And I was like, as bad as I'm looking for employment, it's more important to hear her than to take this test and pass. And she called me a couple of weeks ago and she said, oh, I'm doing well. I checked into a homeless shelter, but the pain, she said, this person is not a person that I would ever thought would even utter the words. So that's
And that's
pain.
the thing, that we have a vantage point or a thought in our head about what depression and suicide is supposed to look like. Like a person who's suicidal is just walking around going,
Right.
they could just be, and just think about in the media over the couple of years that people have committed suicide that you thought, when Robert Williams committed suicide, I took to the bed. I was so distraught by that because I loved Robert Williams. He's done some amazing things, and I really followed him because he was so kind. That one of the things that he did is every time he worked on a movie, he made sure that homeless people in that community got jobs. He wrote it in his contract. So he made sure every place he ever went, he left that place better than he found it.
Yes.
On purpose. And then when he got ill, he felt like he didn't want to be a burden to somebody and took himself out. And so even when that Miss America, the girl who was the correspondence for Extra, and she's on TV going, hi, this is Extra, how are you? And then she jumps off of a building.
Did she?
So a lot of times people are suffering, but they don't look like it. You would never believe that they are thinking that, because their life looks like what you might want. oh, I would love to be on TV. I would love to travel to the south of France, and and they miserable because of some reason that we don't know of that has them stuck in depression.
Wow.
You got the mic? You want to say something? Okay, he was just holding the mic.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to just end with, because we're right at our time, some types of treatment for depression. Of course, medication, which is including antidepressants, mood stabilizers, and antipsychotic medications. Those are 3 different types of medications. But I will say this, if you feel depressed and you feel like you've been depressed for a long time and you go to the doctor and they just automatically prescribe you medicine, ask them to first do a chemical balancing assessment of blood work. Because I'm always challenged with how you know what I need if you ain't assessed physically what's going on with me. So that's the first thing. Second is psychotherapy, and it includes cognitive behavioral therapy, family focused therapy, and interpersonal therapy, all forms of talk therapy, but there's so many other types of therapy. The next is brain stimulation therapies. Because remember we said that the frontal lobe thing, so you may need something that's stimulating that part of your brain. Do you want to know something that stimulates your brain? You can do this on your own. You don't need to go to the doctor. I'm going to give you this one for free. When you get up in the morning, and if your right hand is your dominant hand, and that's how you brush your teeth, stop doing it. Use your non-dominant hand. Brush your teeth with your non-dominant hand, because what it does, it wakes up a part of your brain that you're not using.
I would try that.
Every day, and then once you open up and start using that part of your brain, as soon as you're finished brushing your teeth, I want you to look in the mirror at yourself and tell yourself that you love yourself 10 times. Look yourself in the eye and say, I love you. I love you. I love you. Ooh, I love you. Do it 10 times. Because now you've woken up a part of your brain that the subconscious needs to hear something positive about you.
Okay.
I do it every day. I do it every day. I do it every day. Light therapy. And this uses a light box to expose a person to a full spectrum light and regulate your hormones and your melatonin. Exercise, movement. Movement is good for your mental health. It just is. Alternative therapies including acupuncture, meditation, and guess what? Nutrition. What you're eating. Self-management strategies and education. Learn about yourself. Learn what you like. Take assessments. Once you learn something about yourself, then teach it. Because once you teach it, that's how you know you got it. And then lastly is the mind, body, and spirit approaches, such as meditation, faith, prayer, all of those things. That's the whole totality of a person. But I will say that there's also sound therapy. There is therapy that you can go and they have gongs and things that the circle that you can make these noises that penetrate your body, and it heals things in your body. That's because sound has a vibration to it. And when you are clicked into that vibration, because we're human and everything, all things are moving. So even if you look at that wall and you say that's a solid wall, if I took a microscope and looked at that wall, there would be particles moving. Because cells and atoms are moving, even if it's solid. So we have to make sure that we are doing things to elevate the movement of our cells in our body. Because slow cells, when you're negative, sad, depressed, frustrated, angry, attract slow cells. But if your cells are high, they moving faster, it attracts good cells. So if you're down, If you're depressed, if you're feeling low, if you're feeling hopeless, talk to somebody. It is okay to talk to somebody. It's okay to call and ask for help. It's okay. What's not okay is knowing you're not okay and staying stuck there. We'll be back next week with more of a Mental Wellness Mondays with your girl, Dr. Sabrina. See you next week. Yay!